Excellent.
Right now.
Excellent, excellent. So I would like to welcome our Ugandan audience, the East African audience, as well as the global audience to this Africa Leaders Gathering session. My name is Angelo Izama, and I am head of faculty at the LéO Africa Institute. It is my unique pleasure, to participate in this conversation about Africa and the diaspora. This was included in the program, obviously, because what is happening in the continent is connected, even more so today, and especially even more so today in this year, 2020, with what's going on around the world. And because, being African and being Black has been central to the experience of some of the things that we have witnessed, in and around the world. Now, the LéO Africa Institute basically focuses on leadership as an answer to the contemporary challenges we face. And as a result of that, one of our flagship programs is the Young and Emerging Leaders Program Fellowship. And I'm glad to say that there's several of our alumni who are participating on this call. But I want to say something about what I do as head of faculty at the Institute. It is a fairly recent position here at the Institute. I'm the inaugural head of faculty, and the position has been designed for someone to lead a quality sort of interaction between ourselves, our partners, and the fellows who are part of particularly the Young and Emerging Leaders Program. In the course of my time, I had developed about 4 principles which I want to share with our audience, which are meant to help young leaders identify what is authentic African leadership, as opposed to leaders in Africa, because those two things we hold them separate. One of them is clarity, that at any one time, we should be as clear as possible about what we're dealing with when it comes to leadership challenges, when it comes to challenges in Africa. And that the ability to zero in on the facts, to be very brutal with our realities and to accept those realities as they are is so crucial, because in the course of dealing with leadership challenges and resolving problems in Africa, there can be a lot of confusion as to what is going on. One of them, for example, these days is this debate about the form of government that is relevant to the experience of justice and equality and all these things. So the first thing we tell our fellows is just be as clear as possible and bring a range of clarity to bear on your subject. So this is important to even us who are on this call, because we accept that in Africa there tends to be a lot of confusion about the continent, about what is going on, about our history, about our challenges, and a lot of that is a narrative that is controlled outside the continent. So clarity is one of the first things we put on the table for our fellows, and we want to share this with our audience. The second thing is knowledge. And by knowledge, I don't mean what you can find on Google, though that is important. We refer to knowledge as the ability to generate your own perspectives, and to do so relying on your own information. Because as we know, the global library is full. It's packed with information about, especially about Africa. We are one of the most studied continents in the world, but the quality of scholarship that is often brought to bear on African issues leaves a lot to be desired. First of all, it is largely, again, imported, and knowledge is appropriated for the needs of other people. So at the Institute, we want to rely on our own information. We can, of course, find once again, a range of sources of information, but there are some things that we want to rely on ourselves. And developing that ability to find the relevant information you need is so important, because as Black Africans, you want to rely, especially these days, on your own independent perspective. And authentic leadership particularly allows you to reach out and connect with sources of information that best present your perspectives. And this is part of the independence that we seek for ourselves and for our fellows, that you should go there confident on your own information. Don't rely too much on what others people say, and also don't rely too much on the validation that others may have about what you know, because this is really important when you go out there. Sometimes they want to say, where's your degree from? Is it from Harvard? I can see some Harvard, alumni amongst our friends here. Is it from Georgetown? And so on and so forth. All of those things are important, yes, but we accept you purely on the basis that you are from where you say you are, and we respect what you know, regardless of where your degree is from or regardless of your training prior. So clarity and knowledge. The third, perhaps most important thing, especially for this subject of Black African diaspora, is empathy. If you look around the world, there sometimes appears to be a lot of empathy about the history of Africa, African suffering, and so on and so forth. A lot of that I find in my own, it's good, it's emotional, it kind of lays a pattern of what the continent is suffered, particularly, our civil wars, the history of slavery, and so on and so forth. But the empathy that is missing is a sort of race empathy that is about the brotherhood that we share as Africans. And it is a first stop to say that, look, because you're Black, we identify with you. And that even as we deal with, the various challenges that we deal with, we recognize that being Black, that puts us in a special category. Often when we deal with today's contemporary challenges our leaders are facing, whatever, there's a tendency to put us in a category of people who are not underachieving, who, for example, should be at the same level with other races and peoples. So there's, for authentic leaders such as yourselves and such as our fellows, we tell them, when something is presented to you and as a Black issue, simply engage your empathy, because we understand that our history is different, is difficult, and that whether you're from Senegal or from South Africa or from the DRC or from Uganda, or whether you live outside of the continent, there is always going to be something about being Black that you should remember, and that it is important to share that empathy wherever you go, because there are people who do not share that empathy, in fact, who deal with us in a way through a lack of empathy. And our histories are full of this kind of examples of where, you know, we are treated as somehow as subhuman, or we are treated as things, or we are treated as, you know, markets, so on and so forth. So we want to embrace ourselves in a cloak of Black empathy, and to remind ourselves that, you know, that empathy is going to be something we have to self-generate everywhere we go and bring it to our issues. So when you, especially if you're in the diaspora, when you meet someone who is Black, you will know this because they acknowledge you. They say, you know, we see you, we see you, you're Black. This is the empathy we refer to. It also allows us not to judge ourselves with unfair standards, and also, you know, not to judge ourselves by the standards set elsewhere. So empathy allows us the emotional range to know when something is going bad, when we should feel strongly about it, and also when we should give ourselves a pass, even as we confront issues of the day. And finally, this is the last of the principles that I developed here at the Institute. It is basically about volunteerism. Most of our fellows, we tell them that leadership is basically about taking action. So for those who are coming into this webinar and who are listening to us around the world, first, we welcome your participation. That is one way of taking action. But we essentially will rely on you who are self-aware, who are self-informed, who are empathetic about African issues, that wherever you are as a professional, as a human being, that when it comes to Black issues, that you take action. You join some kind of association with this knowledge in mind. You act within your own organization with these principles in mind. And you contribute to society in the best way and the best traditions of African leaders around the world. So welcome once again. And I'm going to